Hey, Nashvillians. Welcome to the You Matter Nashville podcast, the place where every story we share is a celebration of you, the heartbeat of our community. I'm Jason Hoover, delighted to be one half of your hosting duo.
And I'm Mindy Hoover, joining you alongside Jason to bring you the stories of inspiring individuals and unsung heroes making a positive impact right here in our hometown.
Every episode is about passions, dreams, and actions that stitch together the Middle Tennessee community.
So if you're looking to get inspired by the good happening around us, or if you want to hear from the change makers who believe, just like us, that you matter, then hit that follow button on your favorite podcast platform.
And if you are looking to make a move in the Middle Tennessee area, Mindy and I are real estate professionals and would be honored to serve you with excellence.
Now, let's dive into another episode of You Matter Nashville.
Welcome back to another episode of You Matter Nashville, where we sit down with change makers and people making a big difference in our community. And today is no exception. We've got a very special guest with us. Her name is Tia May. And Tia has an inspiring journey. She has battled with mental health, with multiple different things. She's also an Army veteran. But we've heard a little about her story, and I just knew that this is going to be a perfect spot for her to even share and pour in to others like she does, because she also helps out with multiple nonprofits that are out there battling things like mental health and the such, PTSD, all those types of things. So all that to say, Tia, thank you so much for taking time and joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. People like you give me a platform to share my story and hopefully help anybody else that's suffering with the things that I was going through, or other things that, could still be benefited from the organizations that I help promote.
Yeah, so why don't you start us off and kind of give us the backstory of your journey, and the parts of it that caused you to be where you're at today, and how you're advocating for a lot of these things.
Absolutely. I usually start probably about the time I moved to Nashville. I believe it was the middle of 2011. I actually came here to pursue art with my husband, who was a musician. So he came here for music. I came here for art, and I was doing really well. I quit my job and started pursuing art full time. I did everything from paintings to body paint for music videos and tons of photo shoots, magazines, stuff like that. And it seemed like it was going pretty well. I even transitioned my art into learning how to tattoo, which was a long time goal of mine. Ever since I was a teenager, I wanted to do it. So super excited. I had a lot of clients lined up that had been waiting for me to get into that field.
Really?
And the whole time, pretty much since I was 19, is when I joined the military. It wasn't long after I joined that I started having health problems. I'm not really going to go into detail on how I believe those things came about, because I've heard that people's videos will get, banned for if I mention it. But when I first arrived into the military, we went through some processes, and it wasn't long after that I started having a lot of health issues. So I had been dealing with those health issues throughout this whole journey since I was 19. And sadly, it came to a head where my hands and my feet became heavily affected. And so I had to find a new path for myself. After all the years of doing art, I knew that I just couldn't sustain it anymore. As you can imagine, that took a pretty hard hit on my mental health, because I was really happy doing what I was doing, and I felt really lost. I didn't know which direction I should go. I really didn't know I had any, major passion out there that I could replace what I had before. So I fell into a pretty dark place between dealing with the physical health issues and mental health issues, trauma from childhood, from the military, all that. It kind of all just, it came to a really bad spot. And luckily for me, one of the organizations that I promote now was 22-0. I came across their organization through a friend. who knew my husband and knew that I was a veteran and that I could possibly benefit from the session that they offer. I went through the session about 2 years ago, and it completely changed everything for me. The PTSD that I was dealing with, I mean, it affected everything. It affected my sleep. I had never really gotten a lot of, good sleep throughout most of my life. The PTSD caused a lot of nightmares and hypervigilance that affected my daily life of going out in public, and spending time with my family. I was extremely easily triggered to where I got upset a lot, which, as you can imagine, it's kind of hard to be happy and live a fulfilling life when you're stuck in that place. And there's a lot of people that are out there, both veterans and first responders and civilians, that live with it. And I mean, I was living with it. I mean, I think a lot of people probably didn't even realize that I was dealing with a whole lot, because when I would go out with my friends or go out and do things, it was, you put on the face of, everything's fine, and you don't want to be the downer. So luckily for me, I did go through their session, and it changed my entire life. I mean, immediately there was a massive sense of relief. I did go through a period, because I had dealt with it for so long, where I was kind of in this kind of slow down state where I kind of like stopped everything I was doing and kind of pulled away and took some time for myself, which is hard to do when you're a really passionate person and you like to work and you like to do these things, and you almost feel guilty taking some time away. But it is necessary. And I think some people could benefit from some of that. But I've only grown. The session, it's not a one-time thing. It actually gets better over time, as I've seen. My mindset has slowly gotten better, and I can feel it's continuing to grow. And I think maybe the brain, when it's stuck in a bad place like that, you're not able to get that kind of growth that I've been able to experience. So I got the passion of helping people through talking about these organizations, but there was still something missing for me. And I feel like with a lot of veterans, we crave kind of like a more adrenaline rich experience in life. And so I started dabbling back into the car scene and got into motorsports about 2 years ago. And immediately I knew that was what I was missing, because my mental clarity was through the roof, like the days after going to the track, and my motivation was through the roof to try to combine these two things to help people, because I saw how much it helped me to, one, go through the session and address my mental health, but two, to find something I was super passionate about and a way to connect with people like I once did in the military. Because, not having that camaraderie that you have with, everybody was considered family.
Right.
And I have definitely seen that at the track. And so I just started saying, I guess I could reach out and get some veterans and see if they want to come out and do this with me. And see what kind of impact it could have. And so I use my car as advertising. I go to all these events and connect with as many veterans and first responders and civilians too. But mostly the veterans the veterans and first responders, to help them be connected with all of the organizations that I work with.
So I like the car. We're going to talk more about that, because your handle's even a crazy car chick, right?
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to talk more about the racing, but I want to go back just a little bit and talk more about 22-0. You're not affiliated, but you're I think you're like the mental health ambassador.
Yeah, they actually recently started an ambassador program.
Okay.
And so, obviously, I was like, yep, I'm definitely there, because that's majority of what I do, because I know that mental health is the utmost important thing to me. Like, of all things, just because without good mental health, without your brain being healthy, it's almost impossible to live life to the fullest, because there's always something wrong. There's something holding you back. And like I said, I've seen the difference going from having a mind that was completely consumed with chaos to having one that is like, going into that healthier state. The things that you can accomplish, like your relationships are better. People that get into a dark place, and it's like a lot of people almost like close themselves off from everything. They stop talking to people. They stop going out, and that right there just causes it to get worse. Cause I know most people, when winter comes along, we all get a little bit, a little bit less happy because we're not doing as much and we're not out in the sun and, enjoying friendships and face-to-face communication. I think has been another one too, is so many people get stuck on their screens and their relationships get
COVID
stuck.
didn't help at all.
The relationship gets stuck just, hey, I'm talking to people on social media, and it's like, go out and meet people face to face. Go out and actually do things outside. Because it plays a big role.
Well, what brought you to 22-0? Like, what did you find it online? Was it a word of mouth thing?
Yes. So my husband's, a good friend of my husband's, him and his wife and their whole company that he runs did the session. And then when they saw the results of, how well it worked, they knew that I was a veteran, and I've always been very open about my mental health struggles on social media, to try to raise awareness, to try to let people feel like they're not alone, and to break the stigma that for some reason won't let go. Because to me, I think we already discussed that, mental health is the same as physical health. It's a part of your body that's broken. It's not working properly. It's, if I go into cars, if you have your car and it's puttering and it's not wanting to go, you're going to take it to a mechanic, and you're not going to feel bad about it. Like, you're not like, it's no secret, right, that you have to go fix a broken leg. It's no different. And I'm looking forward to the day where it's treated that way.
And I do think that it is being talked about more, thankfully. And
absolutely.
I think, we are eventually going to break that stigmatism, that if you're, you got mental challenges, mental health, it's how your brain is wired. And sometimes it's not your fault. It could be,
absolutely,
it's just it's just how you're wired, but there are ways to help it. And so I think, and especially with men, because I think it was 10 years before a male actually reaches out for help. He was supposed to 10 years prior. And when I read that just shocked me. I'm like, man, because I think we don't want people to know that we're weak, quote unquote weak. And you're not at all, but it's kind of been our, upbringing, but it is changing.
Yeah, most definitely. I know that I've suffered from anxiety pretty much my whole life. And when I was young, the doctor told my mom, just get her a puppy. Just get her a puppy. She needs something soft and something.
Is that why we have two puppies?
That's why we have two puppies. Okay. But honestly, the doctor was like, she needs something soft, something that she can kind of, take ownership and that's hers. And I was like, that's actually kind of a neat way to start the process. But my mom didn't reveal to me, because back then, the doctor would go off by themselves and talk with the parent, and they would never address these issues with the child or teen. I did not know I had an anxiety disorder until I'm in my 20s in college. And I'm like, I'm struggling. And mom's like, yeah, you've had an anxiety disorder since you were probably 6th grade. I'm like, that's valuable information. It's not like, oh, something that it's just going to go away, or hopefully she won't realize she has it, It's like, so it's handled, I've done therapy in the past, I have medication that helps if it's overwhelming, all the tricks of the trade, I guess, the tools we have in our tool chest. And so many people, though, that they don't go to get help with medication or to go to therapy and to get these tools to help them when they do have these things arise. I didn't do anything to cause my anxiety. It's really genetic. And if you look at some of the women in my family, it's a trait that many of us have, but you don't talk about it. You don't talk about it. You just deal with it. So I love what you're doing, that you're going, this is an issue. This is something that we can't openly talk about, because I know when I was teaching, I found out through training, 80% of educated, like women educators, are on antidepressants. 80%. That's crazy. But because of the stress level and just not being able to handle the day to day. And we may need counselors on school campuses just for our teachers. I mean, honestly, but I haven't heard a single teacher that I'd ever worked with ever mention to me that they were struggling and that they were on medication. So.
Well, and that's why I'm very open about it, not only on social media, but with my children. Like for a long time, if I ever got overwhelmed, I would kind of like go to my room or go somewhere else to, let go of a lot of that and then go back. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, if they don't ever see that this is normal, then they're going to feel bad about when they get to that place. And so I do now, like if I'm frustrated, I will express what I'm going through with my children, because they're like, what's wrong? You look upset, and, I'll talk to them about it because they're going to have those same feelings. They're going to get anxious. They're going to, they're going to get upset. They're going to be, there may be a time where they get depressed because, they go through things in life, and I don't want them to feel like they can't talk about it. And, because it's like you said, the upbringing of, the past generations were that men are these rocks that don't have feelings, and they should never express these feelings because, like you said, that will mean that they're weak. And it's like, no, this is normal stuff. Like if you don't address it, it gets worse. And eventually, it causes people, sadly, to end their own lives. And that is my biggest fear for anybody that's struggling. And that's why I try so hard to get this information out, because I know there's, veterans are 80% more likely to do that. And being able to for them to hear it from another veteran that I went through this session and it helped me. It wasn't scary. Like in this session, the biggest positive that I can express is that you don't actually talk about anything that you went through, which makes it sound like, how could that even work? I was honestly very skeptical when I went to do the session. I was like, there's no way, like, we're going to have a conversation on the phone and poof, everything's going to be fine. Whatever. I'll try to have an open mind about it. But yes, the session is 100% effective at reducing symptoms of PTSD.
That's amazing.
And so, like I said, the fact that this isn't already in every mental health facility that and I think I had spoke with you guys about this, how when you are first going to get diagnosed with some sort of mental health disorder, if you're in a heightened state of, fight or flight, PTSD, anxiety, all of that, they're not going to get a proper diagnosis. They're going to think that all of these things are going on because of these symptoms. And I saw it with myself. I got diagnosed as bipolar, massive depressive, all these things, and tried multiple medications I should have never taken. They did awful things to my head. And once the session was done and the PTSD was, decompressed and all of these things, those symptoms were gone. Wow. So to me, if, that should be part of the process, is if somebody is having a mental health crisis or mental health disorder, have you decompressed their trauma, or,
yes,
have you addressed these things that could be causing symptoms that you can't change with medication. Like, you can numb somebody to the point where they're a zombie, and yeah, they're not going to have these problems, but they're not living.
Right.
I've been there. Like, a lot of those medications make you feel like a zombie. You may not be having negative feelings, but you're not really having positive ones either. You're just basically a breathing machine.
Going through the motions.
Yeah. And so by talking about it and getting this information out there, I'm hoping at some point it will have a massive impact on the way that mental health is approached. Because to me, I mean, I'm no professional. I'm not a doctor. I have no training. I have done a lot of research because, like I said, I started having issues with my mental health and having to speak with people about it since I was 11 years old. And so it's been something that has affected me and my entire family in a huge way. So I'm constantly trying to find answers because, for one, I want to feel the best that I can, but two, I want to help other people dig themselves out of that hole because it's common. It's so common. And I feel like almost everybody I've ever met has been depressed or anxious or just angry for no reason, whatever it may be. All of us have dealt with something, and for it to still be like, oh no, not me. Like, no,
Right.
like, everybody goes through it. It's a normal thing, and it just needs to be talked about like that.
And it can happen to anyone. You
Yeah.
know, grief
Absolutely.
can happen at any time. I mean, there's so many things that, in different stages of our lives that it can creep up. So, well, I love that. I know we talked before at length about your car and everything about it. I know you
She's
have
got
it
some
like
fun
all
videos.
tricked out. I know your videos are amazing. And I know that you've really done a great job at reaching out to like your military friends and like trying to find an outlet. I think that's a good word, an outlet therapy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of, there's something about that adrenaline, it's kind of like a roller coaster, except for when you're behind the car, you have the power. It's like a different level than just like a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's definitely different being the person in the passenger seat because you have no control.
Right.
But, that's why I pay very close attention. I watch everybody drive before I get in the car with somebody because I am a mother and a wife, and I have friends that would miss me. So I do try my best to be as safe as possible. And of course, there's going to be times where bad things are going to happen. But from what I've seen, the level that I do of grassroots, it's not like, formula drift where they're going, it's insanity. Like cars can flip, stuff like that. We're doing, it's so much slower. And I've felt a few bumps. I've hit a wall. We've bumped bumpers with people, and it's not the greatest feeling, but it's really not, it's not awful. So I like to think it's pretty safe what we do. I mean, most of these cars have cages. We have, racing helmets and all the things. So,
and this is a separate type club. I just want to make sure that everybody understands this is not 22-0. This is something completely different.
Yeah, no, this is just at the track. And I've put a lot of focus into drifting, but I am open to all forms of motorsports. I am a little worried about with motorcycles because I have severe arthritis. That's one of the reasons why I got into doing cars was, it's a little bit easier on my hands to just be driving instead of, trying to make things with my hands. But yeah, it like I said, it's a partnership between, there's 22-0. There's the Veterans Trust. They actually help, they host events for veterans. And they have a big one coming. They do it every year. Where they basically take over part of the military base and have the pro level drifters taking the guys around on the base.
Neat.
Like they block off part of the base to take them and go drifting.
That's really
for
cool.
A couple days.
I bet
So
they
I'm
have a
really looking
blast.
forward to that. And then another one too that's really great is it's called Camp Southern Ground. It was prior, I think it was almost a year prior to doing the session. going to Camp Southern Ground, which is a retreat area for veterans. And I think they also do special needs camp, like summer camp. And that place is absolutely amazing. Zach Brown from the Zach Brown Band, he's the curator of it. Top level facility. It's beautiful. The room that we stayed in was like a 5-star hotel. I mean, there was a separate towel for your makeup. Like
it was super fancy.
It was not like you were not camping in tents. I can tell you that. But it actually, I talk a lot about how that week that I went there was, for one, it was the first time I ever left my family for more than a day. I had been just absorbed with taking care of other people. And so you take a week to go to this facility and they pay for your travel. Everything is covered. Like you're fed by like a 4-star chef. All of the food is super clean and healthy. And it's just a week of learning about your strengths and your weaknesses so that you focus on using those to your advantage and getting that camaraderie again and connecting with veterans. Because to be honest, I don't know, it was because my time in service wasn't that great. You know, I had good moments, but a lot of it was pretty bad. And so for the longest time, I just cut the whole military stuff out of my life. Like, I didn't talk about being a veteran. I never really tried to reach out to any veterans. And that week retreat, it changed everything for me. I was like, oh, wow, this is actually nice, you know, because we have something in common, pretty big thing in common. So I highly recommend that. I feel like that kind of inspired me to change directions in my life and to focus on doing, you know, good for others and connecting veterans and stuff like that. And seeing that as a nonprofit, it really also inspired me. And, you know, like you were talking about people having nonprofits, that's definitely it been on my mind for quite some time. And you have to build a team to run a nonprofit. You know, if I could do it by myself, I would have already done it. But yeah, so there's the Veterans Trust, there's Camp Southern Ground, there's track day for vets. I'm trying to think. I should have brought a list with me. But yeah,
there's a lot of options, and
there are a lot of options out there. And if you don't hear it from me, I just like, if you want to do something, there's always something that you can Google certain retreats. They have all kinds of meetups set up for veterans. So yeah, I definitely recommend if it's something that somebody has cut out of their life, to try to go back and reconnect with it, because it definitely helped me a lot.
And I know a lot of times cost is a factor for
Absolutely.
a lot of people. So what would you say to that as far as these events? Is there a cost involved? Is it kind of paid for? Do you have to have an approval process?
So, like, you're talking about like going to the track events?
At that, or even you mentioned the 22-0 program.
Yep, everything is free for veterans and first responders, and they actually have a for-profit side for civilians. So if somebody needs help, they can always reach out and get that information as well. I wish it was something that like every single person, I would recommend doing it once a year, you know, because every year you go through things that might affect you. And I think a lot of us try to think that things don't affect us. We're like, we're just gonna move forward, and it's in the past, but that stuff, when it's not addressed, it can affect you even in the slightest way. So
yes.
I definitely recommend anybody that's struggling to reach out, whether it be for the services that I've talked about, or to, was it 988, I believe is the crisis hotline, to tell a friend. You know, I feel like most people have a friend that they feel they can trust, and it just tell somebody. Don't be
bottle it
quiet
up.
about it.
Yeah, don't bottle it up. Now, you had mentioned, that time of separation. I think that's so important, that whenever you leave a stressful situation, just kind of making that separation from that for a while. Like you said, you found that connection later on and knew you needed it, but still you need that. I don't know, I'm not even comparing, but when I left teaching, it was like, I do not want to step into a high school building for the next 5 years. It's so important to almost like cleanse your mind and to settle your spirit. And then you can start opening up and talking and getting help.
It's so hard when you're somebody like me that wants to help people. And like I always put other people first. Like I just want to make sure everybody's taken care of. And I think the hardest part of something like that is to tell yourself that you deserve that time. And it's worth whatever it takes to make it happen. Like I was lucky enough to have a support system so that my kids were taken care of, while I was gone. But there are services out there, like, I just want to tell people, like, don't let, this is going to be a little difficult to make this work. Don't let that keep you from doing it, because it like I said, it was life-changing for me. I mean, just 1 week away was enough for me to completely change my mindset and kind of change directions and have a more positive outlook and not be afraid of my past, like with the military stuff. I didn't want to talk about it with anybody. And now, like, I talk about it with everybody, and I'm helping all these people because I took that time to work on myself. And for some people, some people, it may be longer. There are intensive programs that are, minimum 30 days. And no matter what it takes to do what you need to do for yourself, you just got to make it happen. Do whatever it takes, because it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you kind of grouped like the paramedics, EMTs, kind of like with the military. I don't think people realize that it's like a 4 to 5 year average for people to work in that field, because it is just so stressful, just the day in, day out, the continuous trauma every single day. So of course they can't get veteran services. They can't get any kind of help. So to see these different organizations that are recognizing that and are allowing them to kind of do the same services, that's amazing.
Absolutely. I have known a few people that were both firefighters, police officers, EMTs, stuff like that. And I've heard some of the stories, and I can't, like, just hearing the story had an effect on me. Like, I cannot imagine seeing that stuff day in and day out, and then coming home and just trying to live, a normal life. So these services are definitely life-changing for people that have those kind of jobs. Those jobs, like fire. You want me to jump in a fire? No, I'm good. Like, it takes a special kind of person to put themselves out there, especially like now with, like, you hear all these horror stories about, a police officer just like stopping somebody on the side of the road and having to worry that this person is going to try to harm them. Like, I couldn't even imagine, I guess I went through it a little bit, when I was in the military, knowing that at any time we could be put into, like, a firing situation. And it puts your brain in a place that, like I said, it makes it hard to relax, hard to, you tend to have to cut off your feelings, because if you don't, they'll take over.
Yeah. And, talking about it definitely helps you as it helps nourish your soul. But I think that's one of the things is that that causes so much depression is because people don't talk about it. Probably the hardest thing to do is picking up that phone.
Absolutely.
Once you do, there are people there that want to help, but just picking it up and thinking that somebody that you don't even know actually is going to care about that's so hard to do.
That's their calling. you know, we all have that friend that you feel comfortable and have confidence in. So, but I'm 100% an advocate for counseling and finding out the type of counseling that you need, because there are so many different types of counseling. People may not understand. There is certain things for PTSD and depression and anxiety. So, and any kind of from addiction to past experiences. So, yeah, do your research, do your homework, find out what's best for you, for sure.
Absolutely, because I went through all kinds of counseling. I went through all kinds of medications, and I got to that point where I started to wonder, like, am I just too far broken? Nothing seems to work, but there's so many different options. And again, that's why I like to talk about what I went through, because it is like an alternative style. Like, it's newer. And a lot of people don't know about it. And there's that hesitancy of, well, I've never heard of this, whatever. It was so simple. It was so simple. And I just hope that anybody that needs that kind of help can reach out. There are veterans out there. A lot of these organizations are run by veterans. So these people that you're talking to, they understand what you've been through, at least a little bit.
And the website, just so that people know, it is 22zero.org.
Yes, sir.
220.org. And do you know what 220 means?
Well, a lot of the veteran stuff rallies around 22, because I know at one point it was 22 veterans a day that would take their life.
Okay.
And so
that's heavy.
Yeah. So 22, and I've got the number 22 on my car. And a lot of organizations use that as kind of an awareness number.
Yeah.
And I get it. So 22 to 0.
Which would
goal.
be nice,
yes,
right? Yeah.
That would be oh man. Yeah. And so definitely check out that website, and there's real easy, the big red button right here, get healed.
Yes,
here.
And they are extremely quick at getting back in touch with people. I know with a lot of the services that I have tried to reach out to, especially with the VA, I ran into either hurdles, or they would take forever to get back to me, or to get me an appointment. And 220, they got back to me right away. I think they scheduled my session within like 2 or 3 days.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. And most of the places I have ever contacted, either on the civilian side or on the veteran side, 3 to 6 weeks is quick.
Yeah.
And that's sad, because if you're in a mental health crisis, 3 to 6 weeks is a lifetime. Like, you're not even thinking about surviving that long. So the fact that they get back to you in days, and knowing that they get in touch with you usually within 24 hours. Just knowing that they're so quick to react, it makes you feel like you're cared for. And hopefully this message will reach a couple people that will, find that they can reach out to. And I love hearing people's success stories. I tell people all the time, when I'm connecting people with this service, please keep in touch with me and let me know how it goes, because it's never not been a positive reaction. I've heard so many great stories, and it just gives me pure joy to know that somebody went from being in a really bad place to now on the route to being in a much better place.
Agreed. Just, yeah. I mean, it lifts you up when you see other people being healed,
Absolutely. I mean, I can see why people want to be heroes, the first responders, because I can only imagine what it feels like to pull somebody out of the fire. Like, I guess that's kind of my feeling I get from this, is I am either pulling somebody up from drowning or burning up in a fire, because that's what it feels like.
Yeah. I had a bad wreck a long time ago, but the interesting thing, I was actually on track. My path was to get into law enforcement. out of high school. And without diving into all of it, I ended up having a very bad wreck. And it was the paramedics. I mean, they literally saved my life. And I don't think we appreciate what they do enough. Surely in passing we think about it, but they go through it, every single day, and have to deal with, people that do die. I can't understand. I can't fathom, and I appreciate the people that are able to do it, but I can't fathom of having that every single day weighing on my mind and on my shoulders. So, God bless everybody that, like yourself, that serve in the Army, in the Navy, all the armed forces. My dad was in the Air Force. And so, we have a deep appreciation for them. But along with all of that does come with some mental struggles.
Absolutely. We're all human. We are not, like I said, we're not rocks. We have feelings, and traumatic situations have a heavy impact on the brain, to the point where many studies consider it to be brain damage. And
really?
Yes, because it does alter the brain. And it can alter the brain into almost an unusable state. I mean, you see people all the time going into psychosis because they went through something that was too traumatic, and the brain basically just shuts itself off because it doesn't want to feel any more pain. So yeah, it's very real. And so somebody who has gone through a lot of traumatic situations, such as myself, from the time of being very young, when the brain is being built, because your brain is continuing to be built for, I think it's women are 21 years and men are 25 years is when the brain is actually done forming. But the first 10 years actually kind of depicts how your brain is going to work. The first 10 years is extremely crucial. So anybody that goes through childhood trauma will essentially be affected for the rest of their life.
Yes.
It can be worked on, but it is a huge hurdle. It's almost like you turn into an adult, but your brain is not actually there. And then you're stuck having to deal with adult things with almost a childlike mentality. And it's crazy. It's very fascinating to me. I could talk about the brain all day long. I research it all the time. It is, they say, one of the most malleable things you could think of, as far as like almost like clay. And so I just hope that somebody that's in the place where I was, where I felt like my brain was just too far damaged, that's not true. I mean, there's people that have come back from situations where they shouldn't have, ever been able to speak again, and they go on to live completely normal lives. So I don't want anybody to think that their brain can't be fixed, because in most cases it can definitely get better.
So how can people connect with you? So if they're wanting to kind of like, if they're into cars and doing drifting or whatever, any kind of motorsport, how can they connect with you to kind of help you, maybe come alongside you with this whole veteran effort? I know there has to be more people out there like you that's like, what can I do?
That's why I'm out here. I am trying to put it out there. If you are a veteran or first responder and you are looking to maybe dabble in the world of motorsports, or you're a huge enthusiast and just don't really know where to start, it's Crazy Car Chick. Chick is spelled CHIK. The Crazy Car Chick on any platform, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Reach out to me, please. If you have a friend, if you have a grandma, it doesn't matter. Bring them out. I love introducing people to the drivers, and I do a lot of interviews with people if it's their first time getting into a drift car. I love seeing the reactions. I've got a few new ones where they're pretty nervous at the beginning, and then they get out and they're just so excited. And
I'll have to try it out.
Yes, there you. Hey,
I was waiting to say me first.
Too late.
So the next event, you guys are going to have to come out and do like a little mini episode out at the track.
Yes, that would be amazing. Keep me posted.
So where you guys?
So you can experience firsthand what it is that amount of adrenaline does. Like,
Yeah.
It's
it is
amazing.
definitely, I wish I could do it every day. I honestly do. It's just, it gives me about 3 or 4 days of feeling absolutely amazing. And then I'm like, okay, where's the track? I need to get to the
See, we didn't have
stop.
tracks growing up, so we did something in the South called mudding.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
We went
I love
mudding.
mudding. I love
So
mudding.
that's how we grew up. There was no track. There was just mudding.
Yeah.
But so
Levee
where do you,
riding.
yeah. Shh. So where do you guys normally like go and do your thing here in Middle Tennessee?
The majority of the stuff I've done as of now has been up at the Clarksville Speedway,
Okay.
the Nashville Super Speedway in Lebanon. There is, Driven Luck is down in Alabama. It's a smaller private track run by veterans.
Oh, man.
The vibe down there is amazing. So I try to get down there for their veterans event every year and do that one. And then another one is called Mid Pond. It's also in Alabama. It's a little bit bigger track, and it's a little bit more advanced. It's a very windy, narrow track that I'm definitely not ready for yet. But I look forward. I look forward to when I am. But yeah, and then I try to get out to Colorado. I didn't get out there this year, but I went last year. Colorado is amazing. You go drifting on a frozen lake. They create a small track and a larger track.
So cool.
Small track is for you to kind of get your feeling of what you're doing, and then once you are comfortable there, you can go out on the big track with the guys that really know what they're doing and
On
try
a
not
lake?
to mess up too bad.
It's like mega drifting, right?
I don't know if I could do it on a lake.
Yes, let's go.
Oh.
We're gonna take the show out to Colorado.
Now I am in search for my midlife crisis. So
Better start saving that money because
Yep.
this is not a cheap thing. I mean, these tires for these cars are very
Oh,
expensive.
man.
So
Trust
I
me,
mean,
all I think about is starting our own tire company. So we don't have to yeah, that's definitely one of the largest expenses in this sport is tires. So trying to land a tire sponsor is definitely at the top of my list because
Yes.
if tires were paid for, especially in drifting, in like autocross and road course, it's not as bad because you're gripping the track. You're not spinning your tires. But either way, tires are a huge expense. And if anything, as far as donors are concerned, if I could just have a warehouse full of tires, that would be a huge relief.
right?
Well, we know what to get her for Christmas.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, Tia, this has been an absolute pleasure.
Yes.
It really has. And man, this is a lot of fun things. So yes, please check out her profiles, Crazy Car Chick.
With a K.
With a K, CHIK, Crazy Car Chick. And you got some videos on YouTube.
Yeah, I really definitely need to pick up my YouTube game. I have gotten kind of into more like Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok, I think, has the most videos. Although I am struggling, they've been flagging my videos for dangerous activities.
Oh
and I'm like,
my.
there's so many videos of people driving like crazy. I don't know what the problem is, but I'm doing my best. I may have to take it over to YouTube so that because YouTube, they don't flag the videos.
They don't care.
So yeah, I
That's
have been
fun.
struggling with that. I'm like, this is what I do. I do driving stuff, and they won't let me post my driving videos. So, but there is a lot. There's a lot on TikTok, and like I said, I'm gonna try really hard to get a lot of stuff over to YouTube because I know there's a lot of people over there. So
There you go.
Well, thank you again. And, it's, I know you've had a long journey. We didn't even touch the top of that, what you've had to deal with. First and foremost, I mean, thank you for your service.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
It is very much needed. And it's people like you, we were talking about special people. I mean, special people like yourself that raise their hand and say, I'll go. So thank you for that. And everybody listening that are veterans or in the service, thank you. And even outside of that, our first responders, we realize there's a lot that doesn't get talked about. And it's easy to see bad things on TV and, everybody gets upset and hate, but there's a lot of good people. There's a
Oh,
lot of good
absolutely.
people. And so we love you. We love what you're doing. I love that you're taking the torch and you're saying, follow me. Hey, there's a better life. I've been there. I understand. We may have different stories, but I can show you how to, live once again.
Absolutely. No matter
And
what's going on, you can always find a way to, I say, to live your best life.
that,
There was a lot of things that I can no longer do because of my body. So I focus on the things I can, and driving is one of them, and I enjoy it a lot. So,
amen. All right. Well, thank you, Tia. Thank you, everybody that's listening. I appreciate you tuning in. Please check out Tia on her social profiles and take some looks at the videos. But also, if this has touched a chord, or maybe you're thinking, well, this may be me, please, please, please don't hesitate. Pick up the phone. I know it's hard to do. I know we've had friends and even family that have struggled. So it's not easy, but it's doable. And there's a lot of people out there that love you, may not even know you yet, but you are loved. And we thank you for tuning in. And just remember that you do matter. Your voice matters. Your life matters. And together, we can all build a better community. And that brings us to the end of another episode of You Matter Nashville.
We hope today's show has left you feeling as uplifted and inspired as we are. Remember, the spirit of Nashville lives in all of us, and every small act of kindness echoes throughout the community.
A huge thank you for listening and even being a part of our You Matter community. If you love this episode, please share with friends and leave us a 5-star review. It helps us reach more listeners and spread the love.
And if you know anyone that is looking to make a move to Middle Tennessee area, we are real estate professionals known as the Hoover Team, and we would be honored to serve them with excellence.
Until next time, keep making a difference, Nashville. You matter more than you know.